Do you know who you are? Do you know why you're here? Do you know what it means to be human? Well, if the answer to those questions are, I don't know, then today at the Works of Wisdom, we're going to take back that phrase from obscurity. We're going to provide context and we're going to teach you guys what it means to be human and what the image of God means as pertaining to the Bible. Welcome to the Works of Wisdom, where we specialize at bridging the gap between Sunday school and seminary school. And we're going to do that with our first series that I like to call Decoding Christianese. If you don't know what Christianese is, allow me to explain it. So, there are a lot of words and phrases that have come from Christianity that have impacted and influenced the world. And in this modern day, with information everywhere, we have all of these words that are starting to get kind of stale because we say them a lot. That's what Christianese is. So phrases like what I said in the first video, the image of God, original sin, the world, right, that Christians say all the time. These are phrases that we say that we don't ever get context to. So my goal today is to bring you context on the phrase image of God. And by the end of this, you'll know who you are, why you're here, and how we should treat one another. So let's get to it. So my approach to this is going to be that we go to the first place where we see the image of God and we break down the context and what we should be getting from this, and then we apply it to our lives, right? So the first place that we see the image of God is going to be in Genesis 1 verse 26. And Genesis 1:26 says, "Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over everything that moves on the earth." So from this, we can see that God created males and females in the image of God. Now, the blessing is the ruling and the dominion and us, you know, taking over the earth, essentially. That's what God is. The Bible says God blessed them, and then he said to them, but he made us in his image first. So in order to figure out what it means to be made in God's image, we have to look at who God is, as according to Genesis 1 verse 1 all the way down to 26. So that's what we're going to do now. So my approach to this is going to be that we go to the first place where we see the image of God and we break down the context and what we should be getting from this, and then we apply it to our lives. So in Genesis 1, we can see that God is maximally powerful, God is maximally intelligent, and God is maximally present. Words that people generally use to say this is omnipotent for power, omniscient for knowledge, and omnipresent for presence, right? I want to keep words simple enough that people can understand. By maximally powerful, I mean that there is nobody that's more powerful than God, and they're now forevermore. There's never been, there never will be, now forevermore. There's nobody that's more intelligent than God, now and forevermore. There never was, there never is, there never will be anybody more intelligent than God. And there's nobody more present than God, past, present, future. He's the most present. Now, how I quantify this, or what's the measure, if we're talking about like power scaling, what's the power scaling for this? For power, the measure that we're going to use is chaos and the ability to create or control it. That's going to be power. That's the most power. You being able to create chaos is the most powerful thing that anybody or anything can do, because that's the first thing that God did. There's nothing more powerful than creating everything at once, right? Second thing is going to be intelligence. Intelligence, I measured by your ability to create systems or put systems in place. I would say that that's how we generally quantify intelligence, is by being able to put multiple moving parts together to make one functioning system, right? So I'll say that. And the more you can do, I would say the more intelligent you are. And then maximally present. By presence, I mean like just simply existing, right? There's nobody that exists more than God exists. Okay. So that's how I'm going to quantify this. And then there are some distinctions that I'm going to make moving forward so that we can see where everybody's set up in this cosmic order. So we've all had that person or those people that use God and the universe interchangeably. They switch them out like they mean the same thing. Like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna trust in the universe, or if the universe aligns, then I'll be able to do X, Y, Z, whatever it is that they want to do. And there's a distinction that I want to make between God and the universe, right? So God is maximally powerful. The universe has power. It has power to create. It has powers to create like planets through gravity, and that's how planets form. Like gravity and dust and everything kind of like condenses together. It also has the ability to create things like suns and quasars and things of that nature. So the universe has power to create, but as the law of thermodynamics says, matter cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only change form. That is a law exclusive to the universe and everything in it, not to God. That law doesn't apply to God, which means that there's a limitation on power, and the universe is inherently less powerful than God. Right. The second thing is intelligence. I was talking about the ability to create systems. The universe sustains every system known to man. As far as like physics, astrophysics, gravity, light traveling, everything like that, that's all sustained by the universe. But I would argue that it was presented by God in the first place and set up. That will be like my what is it? The design argument, my cosmic design argument, that it was designed by God. That would be what I would say. And the third thing is presence. And I would say the universe is everything that we can possibly observe, but there is something outside of the universe. How do we know this? Because the universe is expanding. Even if you believe in the big crunch theory, like it's condensing and expanding in something. And so that would mean that it's not existent everywhere. However, God is existent in those areas that the universe would not be. And we know this because he was there before he created the universe, at least according to Genesis 1. So that's the distinction I want to make between God and the universe. The next distinction I want to make is between the earth and the universe. And so the earth is special in a way because the earth, like other planets, powerfully are potential states, or they have the ability to house chaos. And you can sell this by other planets. Like Jupiter has, it's like a 400-year or 1,000-year hurricane or something like that called the red spot. It's been happening since we've observed Jupiter. And there's all other things. There's so much potential on planets, but nothing's becoming of these planets. But the earth had that same potential in the beginning. When it comes to intelligence, there are systems that are governed by the forces of the universe. That's going to be all the planets as well. All the planets are affected by gravity, by the speed of light, by heat, by entropy, all of that stuff. And but this is where the true distinction is going to be. Um, it's going to be the presence. Where is the Earth, right? So there are several Earth-like planets. There are several planets that exist in the Goldilocks zone. They're just far enough away from their sun to support life. They have there are planets that have water that we've found, but there's no observable life in the universe outside of the life that we're looking at face to face. And that's because God has specifically turned his attention towards the earth in order to make these things happen, which would be the present. So there's only one earth that has life that we know of right now today, and that's all we're going to go off of that we know of, and that's coherent. The next distinction I want to make is between the earth and the life on the earth that is non-human. Now, the life that's on the earth, it has a special ability. I would say this is distinct from the rest of the universe in that everything in the universe is moving towards entropy. A good way to say that is from going from organized to disordered. That's where everything kind of moves towards, except for life on earth, which is the only thing that's moving in the opposite direction. So life has the power to harness power from the universe and the earth specifically to create space to propagate itself, right? And so what I mean by that is life is using the energy from the universe and the earth to sustain itself, to fuel itself, to continue life. And so that's incredible because, like I said, everything is tending towards chaos in the universe except for life. Life is the only thing that, since its existence and as it's continued to build more complexity and more order, as opposed to everything else moving towards chaos, right? So that is incredible. And so when we talk about intelligence, life as a whole has produced near universal, well, I'm not gonna say universal, but has produced systems that apply to all life, that, as we know it, that sustains the system, ultimately geared for best fit survival. When we were in high school, we were all taught ninth grade biology, right? Or whatever age you learn biology, that everything, there's survival of the fittest, and everything that's alive is alive because it's best fit for that particular environment. We were all taught that. We all know that. So life outside of human life is geared for survival, and it's continuously producing more of itself and becoming more organized as time goes on, while everything else is becoming less organized, right? And then as far as presence goes, where we can find life, we find life on all places of the earth. There are even places of the earth that we don't think we'd find life, like volcanoes and like deep in the ocean and hydrothermal vents. But that's also where we can find bacteria called extremophiles that live there and they thrive there, right? So life is on all of the earth. And the last distinction that I want to make is going to be between human life and non-human life, right? So human life, mankind is distinct. There are often times where we're roped in with everything else, but we are distinct. We're different from non-human life. For Let's talk about power in the first area. Power, we have the tools to create, control, to change the environment that we live in, right? This is apparent by climate change. This is apparent by ocean acidification, by pollution, by any level of metrics on a grand scale. We can see the impact of human beings on the earth to the point where we believe that we control the direction of the earth that it's going to take, right? So that's why there are climate change activists and everybody that are gathered to try to find solutions. That's why there are electric cars and things of that nature, because we want to steward well over the earth. This is a concept that's deeply ingrained in us, almost as though somebody put it there, right? So power wise, intelligence wise, we produce systems that allow us to rule the earth and that allow us to make the earth what we want to make it, right? We are produced by the earth, but we're outside of it in the sense that we are the heads. We control what happens on the earth. And the presence, we're found, human beings, although we are found in specific areas called cities and towns and stuff like that, the presence of human beings can be near everywhere. Now, there are parts of the earth that we haven't explored yet, like the deep ocean, where there's some that we'd say 75 to 90% are unexplored. But there's evidence, like we have drones that are still wanting to go down there and see, or submarines to see what's down there. So boom, that is human beings, and these are the levels of distinction. Please excuse the post edit clip. Your boy looking clean now, more fresh. I got the haircut and everything, so I think y'all will benefit from this more. I also had a better way I wanted to end this. Back to your regularly scheduled program. So I went through all the distinctions to show that we're different than everything else, and that the universe is big and broad and powerful, and the earth is big and broad and powerful, and animals are super powerful. If a human were to walk up to a gorilla, or if it's 100 men versus one gorilla, there was that debate on the internet. Like, we're getting dog walked, we're getting beat up, we're getting destroyed when we look at animals. However, everything was put here for the image of God. Let me say that everything was put here for the image of God. And the true question is, are you in the image of God? Are you acting in the image of God right now? And I wanted to ask that question because man was made in the image of God, meaning we have the capacity to act as God does in this on the earth. We have the capacity to act as God does as a union on earth as God does in the universe, right? So God over the universe, man over earth. And that's the beauty that we have. But we do have the option to not act in the image of God because God loves us so much. And so there we are all made in the image of God, meaning we have the capacity to uphold the image of God, to be the ruler, to set up the systems, to be everywhere. We have the authority, we have the dominion, we have the challenge, we have the charge. However, we can not act in the image of God, which would make us not the image of God. So we'll get into that in the next video, but I just thought I wanted to come in here and clarify why I went through all the effort of making those distinctions. Just as you are tasked as a human being to be a ruler, everybody else is also tasked as human beings to be rulers of at least themselves and the things that they have immediate control over. So their house, their family, their property, their business, which is why it's bad to impose your own ideas or your own power on someone else in any sense, because they are tasked to rule themselves and rule the part of the earth that they have access to and capacity to do, and we're also supposed to do that, and ultimately we're supposed to rule the earth together. So when you look around your life, when you look around your neighborhood, when you look around your community, your job, your family, ask yourself these questions. Am I ruling myself? And to the degree that I have capacity to rule over my job, am I doing that as well? Because that's what we're supposed to do. There's a good way, there's a bad way to do it. But at the bare bones minimum, every decision that we make is our choice and we're responsible for it. So, my images of God, my kings and queens, my fellow rulers, if you found this to be at all helpful to you, to reveal to you what you are supposed to be doing, I ask that you be a good ruler and you share this with some other people so that it can help them to also be a good ruler. And ultimately, we can do what we're supposed to do in achieving our goals of bridging the gaps, and ultimately, all of us ruling the earth together where there is abundance. That being said, have a good one.